Okay, well, great. It's so good to be with everyone, see everybody in the room. It reminds me a little bit of our summer series on the Apostles' Creed, but I promise this one won't last for 13 weeks. And it will be about more than just the Apostles' Creed. So that's good news. For those of you that don't know me, I think everybody does, but I'm Chris Holmes. I'm the scholar in residence and one of the pastors on staff. It's a delight and an honor, privilege to welcome you all to this room. Thank you, Gavin. And I'm also preaching all three services. So 2/3 of the way there. I guess this will be 3/4 once I'm done talking today, or during this session. And so that's good news. Let me open us in a word of prayer, as is my custom with teaching, and we will dive right in. Loving and living God, we are grateful for the gifts that you give us. We're grateful for the gifts of friends, for the gifts of community, for the gifts of worship and worship in the context of community. A reminder that we don't do this life alone. We weren't designed to do this life alone. And we are better when we do it with our friends, when we do it with our companions in worship, and when we do it with our friendship in and through and with you. We ask God that the next 4 weeks of friendship, our study of friendship, our preaching about friendship, would in fact make us a more friendly congregation, that we would be better friends to those in our lives, that we would open ourselves to new friendships, and that we would grow in our friendship with you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So this is our overview for our time together. Also, I want to say hello to the folks on Zoom. You can see we've got a number of people at the bottom of the screen who are joining us on Zoom. It is such a delight to be able to do this with technology. So I want to start by giving us a sort of overview and introduction to this idea called the Stembler Forum. Then I want us to answer two simple questions: why friendship and why now? I'll say more about friendship than the why now piece. And then I will provide an outline of the various learning opportunities and points of connection with the Stembler Forum. So what is the Stembler Forum? Where did this idea come from? I have to be honest. I think none of my ideas are original. That's probably not the thing that a scholar should introduce or suggest. But this came from a conversation with my advisor. Some of you know my advisor, Luke Timothy Johnson. He taught New Testament for years at Emory University. He's a stout little man who is dear and fierce and loving and all of the things. But while I was in my PhD program at Emory, Candler School of Theology was in the midst of a curriculum revision. They were deciding what the curriculum would look like for the next 3 to 6 years. And Luke's idea that was ultimately struck down was that we get rid of classes entirely. That there be no structured OT 101, Old Testament 101, New Testament 101, Systematic Theology 101. But instead, each year there would be a topic or a theme, and all of the faculty would design classes around that theme. So that instead of these disparate conversations in New Testament or theology or ethics or preaching, you would have a sustained year-long conversation with theological experts on a single topic or a single theme. The Candler faculty did not go for this. It did not take. And we're not going to devote a whole year to a topic either. We're going to spend 4 weeks on a topic. But it's the same basic idea that we would take a single theme, a single topic, and look at it from a variety of angles. We'll do a 4-week sermon series on it. What does the Bible say about friendship? Where do we see friendship in the Bible? We'll invite Susan Hyland, who is a New Testament professor at Emory, to talk to us about friendship in antiquity. We'll have a New York Times bestselling author and psychologist, Marissa Franco, talk to us about friendship and how to make and keep friends. Who doesn't want to know that in our world today? And so much more. And so the idea here is, instead of me offering a splattering of 3 to 4 week courses, we focus and we narrow down. One of the things that I've been doing already, this started in September, with Karen and a couple of other people in this room, is we've been studying what the Bible says, and even some non-canonical texts say about friendship in the Reading the Bible Together course. So we've gotten a leg up on this series. We've been doing the extra credit, and that'll come out, I think, some in our conversation today. So there are a variety of ways to engage. Clearly, Sunday morning, we'll have a midweek lecture towards the end of October. There'll be a learning lunch on the 23rd with Dr. Marissa Franco, and an online book study, a Zoom book study of a book by Victor Lee Austin called Friendship. And then Victor Lee Austin will be our speaker midweek in the end of October. So lots to come. I hope that you'll stick around for as much of it as you can. And really, really excited for where this conversation will take us. So I'm going to do something that's risky. That is something that I've learned from our youth directors, and that's an icebreaker. I know people's palms are already getting clammy, but I want us to do this. So there was a 2021 survey conducted by the Survey of the Center for American Life. And it found that it asked people to rank where they have found or find or have their friendships. Where are the sources or the origins of their friendships? And they provided 4 options. Place-based friendships, think about workplace friendships, maybe gym friendships, activity friendships, your running club, your something happened on the technology, that's fine. Activity clubs would be your running clubs, maybe your trivia club. A third form of friendship would be the friends that you make at work, and the other one would be I've got to get my notes. Childhood friends. Yeah. Oh yeah, online only friends. That's the third category, and friends from childhood. Okay, so childhood friends, online only, activity friends, and place-based friends. What I want you to do is turn to a partner or two for just a couple minutes and discuss. I'll try to get the technology to work again. Discuss which one you think is most popular. Where do people find their friends most frequently, or maybe least frequently? We'll do a little poll after. So find 2 or 3 people, talk, and I'm going to fix technology. Okay, good. Clearly, this generated some conversation, so it's good. So we're going to do a straw poll, right? By hands. You don't have to consult with your group. You don't have to agree with everybody in your group. But how many of you think that place-based friendships are the highest population of where we find friends? So about a third of the room. Okay. What about activity friendships? Okay, so similar, about maybe a little bit less. Online only friendships? Nobody?
Okay, one person.
Okay, yeah. You have to look at the age of the group. Yeah, that's right. Childhood friendships. Okay, so about an eighth of us. Okay. Yeah, school friendship. Yeah, all the way through. Right, yeah. Yeah, that could be definitely. Okay. So here's the results. No, not the results, because there we go. That's the results. Network connection failed. Love technology entirely. Yes. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna get our power going. Just give us a second. Okay, so eventually, there we go. Okay, so the survey says 69% are place-based friendships. That's to say, we find most of our friends at the workplace, or at a place of worship, or perhaps at the playground with a parents group. Activity friendships are the second most at 51%. And online friendships are 39%. People said that's where they find friendships. So it's not zero, as our group said, but it's still low. And 57% for childhood friendships. So second place is childhood friendships. And my guess is that seems pretty right for you, right? Is anything surprising about these numbers? The online piece is surprising. Yeah. I'll say something more about online friendships in a second.
You know, in a way, these really overlap because if you have play space, you're probably doing an activity with somebody.
Yeah.
If you're doing an activity, it's in a place.
Yeah.
And then with the online, that could be work. And, you know, they really overlap so much. It's almost hard to actually define them as separate categories.
Right. Yeah, good. That's good. And I suspect that many of our online friendships for Americans are childhood friends from elementary school, friends from high school. Some of those are very surface level, right? I have like however many. I'm not going to say how many Facebook friends I have because I immediately got nervous by thinking of that. But you know, I have a number of online Facebook friends, but very few of them are the people that I would call up in a time of emergency, in a time of need.
I think there's a difference between finding and having.
Correct.
I think about online dating, and a lot of people find a friend online dating, but then you have to keep it, and you wouldn't keep it online.
How long have you been online dating for?
Well, I don't think I can recover from it.
So people are choosing too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I am not a survey specialist, nor am I very good at math, Becky. Thanks for pointing that out. I have a wonderful PowerPoint for us that is all powered by the internet. And we'll see if the internet stays. If not, we're just going to have to go. I hope folks on Zoom are staying with us. They seem to have not dropped out yet. But everything else is not working for me today, which is great. So let me pull this up one more time. If this goes down, guys, it's the last time I'm dealing with it. And then we'll move on. So let me get to our next question, which is why are we talking about friendship? Why would I think that friendship is the sort of thing that we can talk about? The first reality that I would highlight is what has been variously called the loneliness epidemic, or the epidemic of loneliness. This was a phrase that was popular, especially during the pandemic. You might have heard about it. We were holed up in our houses, especially early in the pandemic. You know, you didn't go anywhere except for the grocery store, and you might have like taken off all of your clothes in the entryway and immediately got in the shower. But we realized this loneliness, the reality of being disconnected and separated from people, generated this reality of the loneliness epidemic. But that's really not the start of this loneliness epidemic. The pandemic wasn't, nor will it likely be the end. This book here, Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam, was written about 20 years ago. And already then he was saying Americans' participation in groups, civic groups, political groups, religious groups, other groups, was in a steep decline, even 20 years ago. And research since has continued to support that. A 2021 American Perspective survey that I mentioned earlier with the How You Find Your Friends said that nearly half of Americans report having 3 or fewer close friends. 3 or fewer. 12% of those polled said that they have no close friends. And those statistics that are for the general population by PowerPoint, y'all, you're just gonna have to follow me. The statistics for the general population are even worse for men. There have been a number of surveys and reports written about how hard it is for men to maintain and find friendships. And I think anecdotally, I think of groups that I've been a part of at this church and in other churches. It seems easier for women to connect with one another than it is for men. And this is to a great emotional and even physical health risks to men and women who don't have friendships. I'll say more about that in a little bit. This same report says that we tend to have fewer friends than we did generations ago. We tend to reach out to our friends with less frequency than we did, and we tend to rely on our friends less and less for personal support. So we could say friendship is on the decline. Friendship is on the ropes. And that would be the first reason why this seems like a topic we could sit with for a while, because we are, after all, coming out of this pandemic still, and we're still living with the epidemic of loneliness. A second reason, and I mentioned this in the sermon this morning, is that friendship is at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. So if we rank our types of relationships, we might have relationships with our spouse, relationship with our parents and family, relationship with our coworkers, and usually research has shown friendship is at the bottom. And the reason is we can choose to be friends or not choose to be friends. As much as I would like to wake up one morning and not be a parent to my children, I can't make that choice. My wife might make a choice to no longer be married to me if I made that choice. But there's the freedom of choice in friendships that even when we think about our romantic relationships, our marriages, there's less freedom of choice. And also friendships lack a formal structure. Remember, in a business relationship, it's pretty clear, hopefully, who your supervisor is, who your direct reports are. That's all formalized. We have contracts and other things to formalize our business relationships or our business transactions. Not the same with friendships. But friendship also, as a form of relationship, suffers from competition both with work and competition from the family structure. Research shows, again, that people are working longer hours and traveling more from work. Of course, not so true during the pandemic, maybe getting there again after the pandemic. But more than that, young people, especially who are facing the job market, are expected to be more geographically mobile. One survey, a long-term study, survey of people just out of college, followed them for 20 years, and on average, those people moved 5 to 6 to 7 times in that 20-year period for their work. That movement can make it really hard to find and to keep friends. Marissa Franco, whose work we'll be talking about in a few weeks, has said that friendship is a kind of purgatory between leaving our family and finding a new one. That's at least how our culture represents friendship, right? It's a kind of holding place until you leave your family of origin and start your own family. It's really a low bar. Research has also found that parents today spend nearly twice as much time with their children compared to previous generations. All of these factors make friendships hard, maintaining friendships difficult. A third reason that I think it's important for us to talk about friendship has to do with the ambiguity of social media. Again, that 37% of people who say, my friendships are online-only friendships. There's this concept of networked individualism, which because of the internet revolution and the mobility revolution, it means that the person is the focus of the relationship, not the family, not the work unit, not the neighborhood, and not the social group. So we all sign into our social networks that are more geographically dispersed. So we have friends across the world, literally. But these social networks are increasingly tailored to our own individual interests and pursuit, and they provide us ways of navigating the world in a perhaps more insular manner and way. We could think about the ways in which social media like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok runs off of algorithms and may shorten and shrink our social circles so that we only see things that come from people like us or think about us. And so while I think that people connect virtually in real and profound ways, I'll mention one in my sermon later or earlier if you've already been to worship, social media is at best ambiguous for friendships. I think of the Instagram life. Those of you that are on Instagram know this. The desire to present your life as perfect and perfectly imperfect, right? You somehow wake up with perfect makeup and take a picture of yourself while eating your perfect breakfast, right? Your children are always perfect or mildly imperfect, right? They're age appropriately and drastically cute inappropriate, right? Like we capture these lives, and all of these are ways of maintaining this personal persona. And sometimes it can be a sort of armor that keeps people from interacting with us, that keeps people from experiencing vulnerability and authenticity. So why friendship? All of these reasons, there's a number of additional benefits of friendship. Again, relying on some survey data. There have been scientific studies that say that large social networks decrease the risk of death by up to 45%. That's compared to the benefits of exercise, which is only 23 to 30%, or diet, which is 24%. In other words, if you want to live longer, eat McDonald's and have a great group of friends. You don't need to work out, you just need to hang out. It's brilliant. Another study said of the 106 factors that influence one's experience of depression, helping one get out of depression or navigate the realities of depression, a friend or a confidant is the most powerful. Another study said that loneliness is as corrosive to the physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. A lonely person is at a greater health risk than somebody who smokes 15 cigarettes a day. So research says that having friends, being a friend, involving oneself in friendships is good for the mental health, it's good for the physical health, it's good, I would say, in addition, for the world, right? The more friendly, the more connected our world is, the better outlook things will be. Marissa Franco, whose book I've already mentioned, in one of her early chapters in her book on friendship, names a number of benefits of friendship in addition to the ones I just mentioned. She says that friendship makes us whole. It has a healing process to it. Friendships make us more empathetic. They help us understand the feelings and experiences of others as we open ourselves to those sorts of relationships. Friendships help us figure out who we are. She says this is particularly true of adolescence. Think about junior high, middle school years, high school years, even early college. You're figuring out who you are because of your relationships with other people. But in order for that to be true, they have to be real relationships. They can't be Instagram relationships. They have to be ones in which you let people in to your struggles and your questions, to your fears and your greatest excitements. The fourth thing that seems counterintuitive is that friendship actually makes us friendlier. The more friendships we are, the more likely people are to think that we're friendly. Likewise, the more disconnected we are, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I'm not a friendly person. That's how people are going to receive it. So it's really important that friendship makes us friendlier. And then friendship makes our souls grow. There's this spiritual and psychological benefit of friendship, Franco says. And finally, for all of those whys, if you haven't been convinced that we should talk about friendship for 4 weeks, I can't try any harder than what I've done. But one more, which is the theological rationale. And we'll talk about this in the sermon today. In John 15, Jesus says, I no longer call you slaves, but I call you friends. Something important and significant and unique about the Christian religion is that we are invited to see ourselves as friends of God because we're friends of Jesus. That the spiritual life is one of pursuing a genuine and an authentic and a risky relationship with God. Not just one of blind obedience, but one of mutuality, generosity. And that as a consequence of that one of the ways in which the Christian community should be imagined is as a consequence of friends. We are a group of friends, a community of friends, friendship with one another and friendship with the world. So that's the why. That's the why of friendship. Any pushbacks? I can't give you my sources right now, but later. Any pushbacks? I can't give you my sources right now, but later if you need them. Or any thoughts about friendship, the why of friendship? Yeah.
Chris, what you just said is so profound. My question to you is, when are you going to make this presentation to our junior high and senior high congregation? Because it's wonderful for us to hear it at 65 or 70, but they need to hear it at 12, 15, and 20.
Right. Agreed. I'll consult with Ben and Rachel. I've already aged down of youth group age, probably.
She meant the agenda for the children.
Say what?
She meant for the children, the agenda for the children for certain ages.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when am I going to talk about it? I'll put it on my list of things to do. But your comment actually brings up a statistic that the research shows that the places where people struggle the most with friendships are actually adolescents and actually senior adults, right? Those who identify themselves as senior, not that I would identify anybody as senior. And we can see why. If we go back to those four sources of friendship, place-based, activity-based, what happens when you no longer have PTA to go to? You no longer have high school sports to go to. You no longer have a work to go to.
You feel relief.
Yes. All right, you feel relief. Yeah, great. So much to unpack. I'm going to try to paraphrase for those that are in front and on Zoom. A couple of things. One, that friendship is a connector sometimes even between generations, so that young and old can be friends. That friendship, as we are open-minded, as we are able to allow ourselves to be present to those that are different, friendship can be harvested and curated across differences. And that I think fundamentally, because we are identified as friends of God, friends of Jesus, it should and can make us better friends to the world, people in the world. So thank you very much for that. So let me say just a few words about the why now. And some of them are going to seem so obvious, right? The first is we're still in the slow emergence from pandemic, right? Some of us are more and more comfortable getting out, coming to places like this. Some of us, this is like our palms are still sweaty because we're in a big group like this, and we're wondering, man, Chris sounds a little raspy. Does he have COVID? No, I don't have COVID. Don't worry about it. I think also a product of pandemic is something that I think Tony has said in sermons, Tony said it at our session meetings, is that the church today is different than the church that started pandemic. And that's just the reality. The people that are in our services, the new members that we have, we've lost members, we've moved members. The church today is different than it was pre-pandemic. So let's get in the business of knowing each other. Let's deepen these friendships. Let's maybe rekindle some old friendships that perhaps because they were place-based relationships took a back seat during the pandemic. I think also a reason is we are perpetually gearing up for this massive construction project. Our place is about to be disrupted. And so what will hold us together? What will keep us connected? Friendships will. As we navigate construction updates and delays and parking lots that go away or stay or all of it, what can we do? We can hold each other friendships through text messages, through cell phone calls, through coffee dates and dinners. Finally, I think that a third reason for why now, I am not unaware, nor are any of you if you watch TV, that we are in the midst of a contested election. And we are perhaps living through the most polarized world or American culture that we've ever seen. We have people who no longer, it's not that they don't talk at dinner anymore about politics, it's a willingness to take up violence against one's political adversary. This is a reality, and what a better way to address that reality, to think about that reality, than by rebuilding the social fabrics through friendship, through mutual accountability, through practices about being friends. Some of us are like experts at friends. I'm not going to make you raise your hands. That would be embarrassing. Some of us feel like, amateurs at friendship. And some of us probably feel like we're just like social rejects, right? So there's the whole spectrum. And so we all have a lot to learn about friendship and about being friends. I mean, after all, who doesn't want a few more friends in a more friendly world? That's probably as true now as it is anytime. So for the outline of the study, and I know we got about 10 more minutes and then we'll get out of here. Just give you a sense of where we're going from here. So we'll have 3 more Sunday morning adult education hours. On October 16th, we'll welcome Susan Hyland, who teaches at Emory University and Candler School of Theology. She'll be talking about friendship in antiquity and in the Gospel of John. So sort of a historical and theological perspective. And then on October 23rd, we'll be welcoming Dr. Marissa Franco, who is a psychologist by training, PhD research psychologist, who has studied attachment theory and has written a recent book that has already made it to the New York Times bestsellers list on friendship. So she'll be with us on the 23rd in this space in the 10 o'clock hour, but she will also have a learning lunch after the 11 o'clock service as well. And those 2 talks there'll be some overlap, but some difference as well. So if you're here, you should also be there. But if you can't be here, you should still also be there, right? That's how it works. On the 30th, I'll bring our study of friendship to a conclusion by considering friendship with God a little bit more deeply, but also friendship within God, thinking about the Trinity as a model of friendship and what we can learn from that. In addition to these Sunday morning activities, there's 2 things that will happen midweek. We'll have a Zoom Bible study that starts this Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday the 12th and then Wednesday the 19th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And we'll be talking through a book on friendship by Victor Lee Austin. Victor Lee Austin is the theologian in residence for the Episcopal Diocese of Dallas. And he will also be our midweek lecture on October the 25th. So he'll be talking to us about friendship. So a lot that is going on, hopefully a lot of ways for you to connect. If you want book recommendations, at this point, I've read my way into the topic. I have a couple of recommendations. But that's the plan. That's where we're going. And we probably have a couple minutes for conversation or discussion before we run off to the 11 o'clock service. Yeah, Tad.
Just a question. I apologize on this when it's late today. I think about friendship. You probably get it to different people and get some different definitions of what that means.
Yeah.
It would help contextually, maybe you could might get your perspective here, or from the lecturer's perspective, maybe what is the definition?
Yeah, thanks, Tad. So as you suggest, there's a variety of definitions of friendship. Who is a friend? This Thursday group that I lead, we've been reading through the Bible and thinking about what different cross sections of Scripture say about friends, and even that doesn't offer us a unified voice. Proverbs would say that friendship is rooted in sort of righteousness and moral living, right? So in order to have a friend, they've got to be sort of moral like you are. Similar things are said in the wisdom tradition. I think at the most basic level, this survey that I mentioned earlier says that a friend is somebody that we enjoy. A friend is somebody that we can talk to, and I can't remember the third one because it's depend on. Yeah. So we could add to that. What Marissa Franco's book will do a lot is we'll talk about authenticity, about initiative. I think it's, for me, my sort of working definition is somewhat seasoned by the ancient philosophers that a friend is another self. That's, I think, a quotation from Aristotle, that friends are someone who knows you almost as well as you know yourself. Or sometimes a friend could be someone who actually is able to see you better than you can see yourself. They can cut through your BS and say, no. You may be telling yourself this story, but I see what's going on. So that's what I would say. I would say a friend is the person that you would call when you get the news of that diagnosis, when you get the news about the death of a loved one. They would be the people that are in that short list. And again, social psychologists have done a lot of research about our capacity for relationships. And like, my wife has this great graphic of, you can have like 1,500 people that are in your tribe. These are your acquaintances, and like 200 people that are part of a smaller group, and you get smaller and smaller. And that most people can maintain somewhere between 5 and 7 close friends, bosom friends, as some writers would put it. But I think that it's more than acquaintances, right? Because to get to solve the epidemic of loneliness, to solve that experience of being isolated and alone, you have to be vulnerable and be seen. And so those are the types of relationships I think I have in the room. Okay. Thank you all. We'll see you all next week and at the worship service at 11.